Hey guys, it's Marcus back with Leather Learner, and after the last video I kind of want to give a better example of what I mean by pre-planning your leather projects. So after this wallet here kind of was like a failure, I mean technically not a failure, it did produce a product, but not one that I would like to actually use daily. So what I'm going to do is kind of go through how I planned for my next wallet. And what I got here is basically, this is like our back panel, and by back panel that would be like this back panel here. So you have your slot for your money cards. It'd be the back panel. This is the panel we're talking about. And this is in reference as this would be the inside. Now I have overall dimensions and stuff here, but I'll explain that a little later. The biggest things to keep in mind are these reference lines right here. So this is like the center line for where your wallet will fold. You do need to have ability to fold this line, and what I mean by that is if you look at this wallet here or any wallet, you will see, notice this big bulge right here. What that is there's extra material on the back panel compared to the middle panel or front panel, however you want to refer to this panel. But that is for the ability to actually open it fully and to be able to close it fully. Basically what that does, that flap kind of helps hold in a way the wallet closed. See how I let go and it kind of goes forward and closes? Hold it open, let go, kind of closes on its own. Without that, wallets would not work quite as well. So this is one of the key features to every wallet, is in making sure that there's at least enough room. That room is dependent on the thickness of your leather as to how much room you need to allow it to close. Now when we're looking at this, some key things that I want to point out is this double layered area. So this area right here is double layered. And what I mean is basically a 3/16 inch wide strip of leather that'll go from the top of the wallet all the way to the bottom. And the reason for that is simply to allow more room. One of the reasons why I decided to do a wallet in the first place is almost all wallets, if you look like right here, they always touch, both seams touch, and that always irritated me because dirt and stuff would get stuck like right down in that crevice. So what I wanted to do to combat that was basically adding another piece of leather in between the back and the middle panel. And what that would do is put a little space in there. Secondly, this right here, single layered area to be folded over the middle panel, remove material. Now what that means is at the very top edge here, if you look at overall dimensions, it's 10.5 wide, 3 3/4 tall, plus a 1/4 inch nub. Now the actual wallet size, finished wallet size, is not going to be 3 3/4. It's actually going to be about 3.5. The reason for that is this top 1/4 inch here will be folded over itself. So if you look back at this other wallet here, see this? This to me does not look very appealing. This, however, this edge here looks much nicer, much cleaner. So I want this on my next wallet. So that's part of your planning process too. How aesthetically clean do you want your wallet to look? Do you want it to look more like this or more like this? And you have to take those things into account. So on my back and middle panels, they will both have an extra 1/4 inch here to allow for that fold over and sew of the seam. Now another key feature on here is this little nub. What this little nub is going to do is it's actually going to act, if I bring this other wallet over again, basically you can see right, trying to reposition this camera better, right here. See this ugly looking thing right here? I don't want this to repeat again, especially because I'm having this piece fold over. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and I'll fold this all over itself, but this last piece, there's going to be a cut, a little cut line here, basically going right here. There'll be a little cut line, and what that'll do is it'll actually be like a simple cut in the leather, and then this piece of leather will fold over the middle panel so that it looks a little more uniform. It's not necessary, but it's just something that, you know, I decided I wanted to do for my next wallet. So this will be the basic back panel, and the middle panel will be the same as the back panel except for these following three things. Number one, there will be no double layers. So this double layer area here and here is only for one panel, the back panel. You know, doubling it up twice, I think we might get the wallet to be too thick, and that was the reason why we're doing another wallet anyways. The first one was, in my opinion, kind of thick. You know, it's pretty bulky. The second will be no nubs. So these little nubs, they're only going to go on the back panel. The middle panel will not have these nubs. And the third thing is the overall width will be 10 inches to accommodate flexibility. And by 10 inches, you can notice here, we have 10.5. Again, stressing this point, you need this space where your wallet's going to fold to be longer than the middle panel. Again, we look at it. You have your middle panel here, the brown. See how it's much shorter in length than this outside exterior leather, bluish grayish color. It's about a ½ inch longer. And if you don't have that, you will not be able to close your wallet correctly. It'll bunch up, and it'll basically be as hard as a rock right here. You won't be able to close it at all. So that is why the middle panel will be 10 inches, not 10.5 like the back panel. Okay, now we'll look at our pockets panel. And by pockets panel, I mean something like this. This is like a pockets panel. Now you got your little pockets here. And how I'm going to be doing that is pretty simple, but there's a few changes. The first thing is on every pocket there's this area here, which if we look at the key here, it's an area to be folded. Remember to remove material. So basically you'll fold over, you'll cut these at an angle, 45, and you'll fold this pocket over. Again, it's simply so that you can get an edge that looks, so if we look at this here, it'd be an edge that looks like this. See how this one, I folded it over and I sewed it. If you look on the inside, you can see, try to get a view of it. You can kind of see, but basically I folded it over and I sewed it. Now you can't just fold it straight over, because if you did that, your stitch line here would get extremely thick. Like it'd be going through a lot of layers. So basically what you do is you kind of cut it at a 45. I may even come over a little bit, cut a little bit over just to get past the stitch line, and then 45 it. It's aesthetic purposes anyway, so it's not something where it's got to be perfect, but it's simply so that it doesn't look so bad, so you're not having just a raw edge on the top going across. But if you prefer that way, you know, you might prefer that look. That's fine. So that's what these lines are representing. This is representing a fold line. So you have your pocket over here. You see I listed it out. Basically, pocket 1 will be here, pocket 2 will be here, pocket 3, pocket 4, and then this is what I call the pocket's base, and this will be on the left. This will be for the left side. You basically just copy the same thing over to the right side. But what I mean by base is, let's see if I can get a good view of it. think of this blue, grayish blue material that's sewed right here. It goes behind all these leather pieces and goes directly to the base, or not to the base, sorry, to the middle panel. It's sewed to the middle panel. Let's see if I can see it in here. Okay, so you can see it's sewed right there to the middle panel, but it's kind of too tight of an area to see it over there. But basically what that is it's a base, is what I call it. You know, I'm just making this up, but sounds good to me. Anyways, so this base is pretty important because it determines whether or not you want to have a, what I would call, so in this case I have a four pocket front. It would be whether or not you want to add a fifth pocket. Basically, let me pull this other wallet back again. So there's some wallets out there that have the capability of putting stuff in. Sorry about this. Basically shoving stuff in this direction in a pocket where the base is only sewed on three sides. So it'll be sewed on the top, left, and bottom for the left panel, and then for the right panel it'll be sewed on the top, right, and bottom. And what that'll do is just allow you to have another pocket to put, well, junk in. Anyways, that's something to remember. And for that to work, and regardless whether you're going to have that extra pocket or not, you always want to stitch the side of the pocket base that is closest to the middle. So for the left side pocket base, you're going to want to sew this right side of it all the way down before you go and start sewing all of your pieces together. And the reason for that is because if you sewed, so we look back at this again, if we sewed all of our pieces together over here, so like this side, and then we realized, oh shoot, we didn't do this, now you're fighting this back panel and the middle panel, trying to get them moved out of the way so that you can sew all the way down. Or sorry, not the middle panel, but the back panel. Basically, for this particular design, this will be attached to the middle panel right now. If you wanted a pocket there, you would not attach this to the middle panel. You would sew this all together and you would leave it, and then you would attach the rest of this all to the middle panel, or sorry, not middle panel, but basically this top edge here. The top would be sewed to your middle panel, the left and the bottom would be sewed to through both the middle and the back panel. And I also came up with a list of kind of some things to think about, and that's order of operations. So like I just explained why you'd sew one piece before another. If you sew one piece or not, you're gonna basically regret it later that it just made your job a lot longer because you're fighting another piece of leather being in the way that you're trying to sew around or through or whatever. Another thing is a lot of people can have or do use glue. That's an option. Some people glue, some people don't. The one thing to be cautious about glue, so for instance, like when you're sewing a lot together, people might glue, like say all these flaps. They'll glue all these pocket flaps together to make it easier then, so that when they go to sew, the pockets aren't like, well, they aren't like moving around on you when you're going back and forth sewing. So that's one thing to keep in mind, is putting the glue down. It could help. The downfall is if you, let's pull this back over again, say you go to glue this but you put just a little too much glue and it comes over a little ways, you know, now it's going to be kind of glued from like this point all the way over to here, when you just wanted to glue from this edge over to just past the stitching area. So that's one thing to, you know, think about, whether or not you want to be gluing your projects in the future. Stitching grooves and removal of material. This is by far a huge one. So like, for example, on your pockets, when you're going to do this, make sure that you groove this stitching area. And the reason why you want to groove it is, for instance, we pull this over, you can kind of see, so like over here on the left side, where this finger here is my middle finger, these were not grooved. There's no groove. I didn't put any groove in there for the lacing, and so they kind of stick up. You can feel it. Versus over here, the right side, you can see I grooved it, and you can see how much nicer and flatter they're laying. That's appearance. You know, some people might like this, you know, feeling where the lace is kind of bumped up. You can feel it. Versus other people would rather it be smooth because, you know, maybe they like it smooth. I don't know. But that's one thing to think about. And then final thing is just your overall appearance. Always take a step back from each step in your process, whether you're making your back panels and cutting them, or your middle panel, or your pockets. Always take a step back and just remind yourself, am I cutting the right distance? Am I thinking about where I'm going to be placing my stitches? Because if I'm not, you're going to regret it later. If you just start just cutting stuff and just start slapping stuff together, later on you're going to be like, man, I should have just took a few more minutes and rethought through how exactly my stitches were going to go down. But yep, if you like the video, yeah, leave a like, comment if you want to, and subscribe if you want to. But that's it for now. Have a good one.